coming to our press conference this morning. Let me be the first to apologize for the slightly late start. We try to get things going on time. I want to say that we really do appreciate your time. We appreciate you joining us here. And without too much further ado, we're going to get straight into it. How today will proceed is I'll make room for Mr. Michael Beaumont, our national chairperson, to start off with some opening remarks. Once we've done that, Michael will then I'll come back rather, and I'll invite the mayoral candidates per municipality, per metro rather, to come up front and say a few words, basically introducing themselves and telling us why they've chosen to run and what kind of change they think they can deliver to their respective metros. After which I will then allow for a Q&A, which we will take from the journalists present in the room here, and also those ladies and gentlemen who are joining us virtually. So without too much further ado, if I could kindly call on Mr. Michael Beaumont to get proceedings going. Thank you very much.
Good morning, members of the media present today and South Africans following this from home. It is my pleasure to be here today to talk to you about our announcement of mayoral candidates that will be contesting the primaries of ActionSA in the 2021 local government elections. Like so many things, the origins of this moment lie in the People's Dialogue. On the 6th of December 2019, a dialogue was started with the South African people that solicited the views of 2.4 million South Africans about what they want for the future of their country. One of those things that emerged from that discussion was the concept of direct democracy. In essence, South Africans are fed up with the system for a political party, and that political party gives them the candidate that it suits them to give. This system has not worked, and it has produced public representatives that are not accountable and are not the very best candidates that could be put forward to serve South Africans. Broadly speaking, this can also be understood as electoral reform. But the challenge with electoral reform is it requires members of parliament to elect to have greater accountability. And members of parliament have demonstrated over and over again that they are not interested in more accountability. This is why ActionSA took it upon ourselves not just to talk about direct democracy, but to live this value very directly. And what we did is we changed the concept of candidate selection, which is the process of political parties sitting in smoke-filled rooms determining who the candidates will be, and we turned it into candidate elections, in which we invited members of the public, whether they are members of ActionSA or not, to participate in the election of our candidates. The most important feature of the system is direct accountability, because just like in any job, the people who appoint you are the people to whom you are accountable. The implication of this is that when people are elected by their communities, they are accountable to their communities. The system of accountability that will follow in the wake of these elections is that our elected representatives will be accountable to their communities, and at the midterm period of the 5-year term of office, a midterm election will be held, at which time it will be determined what the level of satisfaction is with the service of their public representatives. If that level of satisfaction is not above a certain predetermined amount, that person will be replaced by somebody else using the very same system. Our candidates and our public representatives will be accountable to their communities first and the party second. In this regard, we opened a system of voter registration where any voter could come forward and register to vote in our primaries. The primaries were to be conducted in the Gauteng metros of Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni and Tshwane, and they were opened on the 13th of April. As of yesterday evening, I can tell you that we stand with approximately 120,000 registered voters to date, and what we see is an exponential curve. Like all things where the voter registration numbers increase, dramatically as one gets closer to the period of the election itself. The voting will begin on Monday the 21st of June. It will take place in two forms. The part of the voting will be digital, so we have piloted an online portal where people can register with various safeguards and checks and balances. And when Monday the 21st of June comes around, they can proceed to vote digitally. We are doing this particularly because with the concerns around COVID-19, it was very important that we provided a platform for individuals who were concerned about the repercussions of going in person to vote in this third wave, so that they can vote digitally. In addition to that, we will be opening physical voting centres around these metros on Saturday the 28th of June. Voter registration will continue to be open throughout this week in question, so that we anticipate the number of people who will participate in these elections to greatly exceed the numbers that are currently registered. Shortly thereafter, we will audit the results, and the results will be announced publicly to the South African people. We would like to be very clear that this is a first of a kind of any political party in South Africa. No political party has undertaken anything like this before, and we are very proud that we could take the values that arose from the People's Dialogue and the conversation that was solicited with 2.4 million South Africans, and we could convert that into something that represented what they want for the future of their country. ActionSA remains adamant that these 2021 local government elections must continue. We do not believe that major political parties want these elections to continue, because major political parties have demonstrated major declines in recent times. But we need to be very clear, South Africa needs these elections. And South Africa needs these elections like it has needed no other election before. When you see the state of local government in South Africa, it is becoming nothing short of a disaster. We have mayors who are directly implicated in criminal activities. We have municipalities where sewage is running through the streets. We have towns that have been under administration for more than 10 years. There has never been a more important time for South Africans to exercise their right to vote. When it came to the selection of our mayoral candidates, we conducted a shortlisting exercise because we had many candidates who applied. The shortlisting exercise consisted of shortlisting them based on their endorsement, in other words, how many members of the public signed support for those particular candidates. And we excluded candidates on the basis of having criminal records. They had to complete an affidavit confirming that they did not have a criminal record. They had to complete an affidavit indicating that they do not owe municipal debt. This is something that we regard to be very important, because we ourselves as leaders need to set a standard. And you have seen all too often in municipalities that it is the public representatives who owe the municipality money and receive special treatment, while it is the residents who are treated brutally by these municipalities. As well as a series of declarations that were designed to ensure that the people we are putting before you today are good, honest, and ethical leaders who will represent communities effectively. We have begun the process of staging a series of debates. The first one will air on this coming Thursday morning, and the remainder will follow. We believe these debates to be hugely important, because it is important when people go to vote in the primaries that they know who they are voting for and what those individuals stand for. I think with all of this being said, it has been my great privilege to speak with you on this very important occasion and a first of a kind occasion, and I will now hand over to our Master of Ceremonies, who can now bring forward the candidates to address you one by one. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you kindly, Michael. If I could kindly ask for the mayoral candidates from Ekurhuleni to come join us here. If I could kindly ask all three of you to come join me. What we'll do is that we'll ask each of you to say a few words, introducing yourselves in the first instance, talking through why you've chosen to run and the kind of change that you want to create within your city. I suggest that we perhaps proceed in alphabetical order according to your surnames, and I believe then that starts off with Eleanor, followed by Tshwane and then Lerato last, if I'm not mistaken. Over to you, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eleanor Moropa. I'm here because of the need that we are faced with in our country, and I'm here to make a difference in our nation. I realize that we have needs such as social illness, economic prosperity, and migration problems that we are faced with, and many other problems that we are faced with. And I believe I'll be able to address those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. My name is Tshwane. I'm from Ekurhuleni municipality. I have actually equally worked in the municipality in my personal capacity, doing media relations, and I must say I have been looking at our city and our country at large declining from what we have inherited from the apartheid regime and becoming the worst of what we could have ever imagined. And as a result, when I joined ActionSA, I looked at quite interesting core values, which is the rule of law, which I think needs to be put in place as a matter of urgency. We have serious issues with social justice, and I think that I'm available and I'm putting my hand up to say I'm ready to serve the people of Ekurhuleni as a servant, as a leader, because South Africa have got politicians, they've got master politicians, but we do not have leaders in this country. We do not have leaders in Ekurhuleni. As things stand, we are sitting with a whole lot of shenanigans that are being swept under carpet. And my first responsibility, should I be recognized by the people of Ekurhuleni, is to make sure that we bring back that municipality and that region to its former glory. Thank you very much.
Good morning, members of the media, colleagues, and my fellow candidates. South Africa, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. We were powerful enough and brave enough to stand up against apartheid. And now we must once again find courage, lead from our collective strength, because believe me, we are powerful enough to end the ANC's reign of terror, especially against the poorest among us. I am Lerato Ngobeni, an ordinary, concerned South African who has watched her country descend into a state of chaos. And those who know me well know that I despise chaos and dysfunction. For far too long, we have allowed so-called traditional politicians to run rampant and destroy our country. The ANC government would do well to remember my name and the names of my colleagues who are here with me today, because we've been desperate for an alternative political voice to emerge, and little did we know that we are the ones we've been waiting for. I think all South Africans can now agree that at the heart of all of our problems as a society is the ethical barrenness of the ruling party. It is high time that ordinary South Africans like you and me get up, stand up, and take action. I believe that my cumulative life experiences have sufficiently prepared me to be able to make a meaningful contribution towards rebuilding our beloved country. These are desperate times. South Africans can either choose the tried and tested devil they know, who have turned our country into a gangster state, or we can take a giant leap of faith and carve out a new path for our nation, especially for young people and for future generations. At the heart of ActionSA's mission is to rid our country of rampant corruption and the lawlessness and economic deprivation, and bring in a new breed of leaders who are committed to ethical and values-based leadership. I am honored to be given the opportunity to serve with this exemplary group of people who make up the large part of our organization. In the final analysis, our number one priority is to create a conducive environment for the public and private sector to work in concert to create sustainable jobs and for our society to thrive. In the words of former Miss South Africa, Zodibini Tunzi, I have decided to be fearless, to take up space and challenge the status quo, because South Africa deserves better. And I look forward to serving my country and the people of Ekurhuleni. Thank you.
Thank you kindly, colleagues. Please take a seat. If I may then call upon the candidates from Tshwane to come join me up here, please. As we did before, we'll ask you all to make a few remarks by alphabetical order of your surnames. So we'll probably end off with Mr. Dawu over there is just running off, but we'll start with you, Mutefa.
Good morning, fellow South Africans. My name is Mapifo Dalmashubani. I'm from Tshwane. And I thank this opportunity I would like to thank this opportunity you have given me. I applied this post because I'm new in this field, so that's why don't be ashamed of me. And I applied this post because I want to help my community. I applied it because I'm desperate. I'm a desperate South African lady. From Caesar Avani, Abafazi, Abafananame, the community, the country as a whole. So I'm here to represent ActionSA, and I'm proud to be in this part.
Good afternoon, South Africa. Good afternoon, members of the media, the fellow cadres and Mr. President, the National Chairperson, and everyone in the house. I greet you in the name of ActionSA. My name is Murena Boris Matlaule Glory. I'm from Tshwane. Well, there's a few aspects that I want to address which are so significant about South Africa as a whole, including Tshwane residents. The first one, there's a very serious concern about illegal immigrant, the undocumented citizens. These concerns, it cannot be ignored or avoided in any way. So I've realized that it is one of the aspects that I need to address. My experience as an activist on the ground, it has proven enough with a solid record that I am the best candidate to be a mayoral of Tshwane City. And the things that I will do in Tshwane, the first of all, they are primarily on my list. I will make sure that I will deal with the issue and the concerns of the residents regarding the undocumented citizens, because this one is a very serious issue that our communities are crying for. I'm not going to talk about the qualifications and the abilities that are required in order for me to be seen as the best candidate. But I just want to take you just directly to the objectives, whereby I'm very direct on them. I don't compromise on them. I will make sure that I prioritize the issue of dealing with the illegal immigrants and the crime that is happening in the city of Tshwane. It's a very, very, very serious issue. So we cannot think otherwise. We need to deal, Tshwane and South Africa as a whole, need to deal with crime that is happening in the city, need to deal with the issue of immigrants. These are the primarily concerns which are pumping in my heart. And then another thing that I will do, the changes that I will do in Tshwane, I will make sure that I reserve the job opportunities for the South African citizens to fight against the depressed rate of unemployment. and then in our communities, because if we check in all our communities, most of the businesses, they are run by the foreigners. Today, South Africans residents, we no longer having any people who represent us in a community business sectors. So that one must change. Another one, I want to grow and develop Tshwane into one of the world-class cities. We can compare cities like New York, cities like Paris. So I'm determined on that, and I stand still on that I'm going to develop Tshwane into the best city and into the city that will be competed with other cities. And then another thing is I will make sure again that the IDP is going to be ruled and governed by the communities, and then to fight against corruption that is happening and the cadre deployment. I will bring professionalism into the city. I will bring again ethical leadership into the city. And then we are saying as ActionSA, coalition government is not our aim. We are aiming to take the city, and we are going to win the city. So I'm begging to South Africans that let us make a great choice so that we run the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director, members of the media, the leadership of ActionSA, and my fellow compatriots who are vying for the top post of being our face for the campaign to take Tshwane from the Democratic Alliance in the forthcoming local government elections on the 27th of October. Now, we meet here today with Tshwane, our capital city, as the second highest in terms of international missions. And if we're to reflect as to what the international community sees when they see Tshwane, the mayor of Tshwane has recently confirmed that the city is bankrupt. We know that through the crime stats have confirmed that Tshwane is the most unsafe city in the country. In fact, Tshwane has made it in the list of the most unsafe cities at top 10 in the world. We have been downgraded by Moody's, and we have seen children being killed in this term by mass lights that fell on them. Kids have been killed in ditches which were left unattended by contractors. And in fact, the capital city of South Africa does not look good at all. Now, if we are to restore the capital city into what it's supposed to be, we definitely need you and I to come to a point where we realize that we need men and women who know what they should be doing and are capable of turning the city around. I have been an MMC in the city myself, and I've acted as a mayor. It is unfortunate that the city saw itself in the previous term finding itself with 3 mayors that have been there, a provincial administrator, and the chaos that is the city of Tshwane today. Now, colleagues, I am a firm believer in the idea that success is a science. If you get the conditions right, you are always going to get the results. And I can tell you now that those conditions start by getting the right man at the helm, a man who knows the city and knows how to turn the city around. How are we going to turn the finances around? Because without the finances of the city working, then you cannot do anything. And I can tell you now that right from the onset, when I left after acting, it is on record that I left the city with a 4 billion rand surplus, and by the time Randall took over, it's now bankrupt. So we need to make sure that we turn the city around again in terms of its finances. In the city of Tshwane, as we speak, the council has taken a decision to bully the most poor and vulnerable of the city by taking 60% every time they go and get electricity, even on prepaid. And we are saying as ActionSA, when I come in, there has been a working relationship between the citizens of the city of Tshwane and ourselves. I can tell you, I was born in the city, I was raised in the city, and I know what works with the city. There's always been a relationship where citizens were willing to pay for services. But what is there to pay for when parks have dilapidated, when you look at potholes that are all over the city, when electricity is not running continuously in the city? And therefore, you realize that, number one, there is always that saying that says, you better be scared of an army of sheep led by a lion than an army of lions led by a sheep. Now, I am saying I am brave. I have the technical know-how to turn that city around. I have the time and the energy to turn the city around. But more than anything, I do think that it is about time. The peace citizens of Tshwane have given in 2016 the Democratic Alliance a chance to turn things around. Now that the results are in, I urge the citizens of Tshwane again to say, we were brave to walk a path never walked before. They can do it again. Take your vote and bring it to us. Support me in the upcoming primaries as the best person to really lead this city into a new future. A future that has employment, a future where the city is thriving and services are delivered to all residents of Tshwane. Quality services that you deserve. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to the mayoral candidates from Tshwane. And without much further ado, if I could please ask the mayoral candidates from the city of Johannesburg, Ms. Soria Holt, Mr. Lincoln Achaba, and Mr. Herman Masha. Often confused to me. We'll start with Ms. Soria to open us up, please.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm Soraya Holt. I'm a candidate, mayoral candidate for the city of Johannesburg. I'm looking forward to working with our other colleagues, and I'm appealing to the people of Johannesburg to go out and vote, because it is so important to vote. If you basically look at everything that affects our people, everything is guided by the politics of health, the politics of social services, security, everything else. And particularly the women. I'm asking for the women, please, to go out and vote. You know, we're always talking about white, black, colored, and Indian. I think the time has expired for us to use that card, because we all one. God made us as one. He said, I make you in my image. So I think that it's time that we moved on and we hold hands and bring about the much needed change for the city of Joburg and for South Africa and for Africa as a whole. What's important to me is that, you know, we out there every day in our communities, and we see the challenges that they face. Especially now we're facing challenges with Eskom not being able to supply electricity. We're facing challenges where potholes are not repaired. We're facing challenges where the police are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're standing by and just looking and doing nothing. I mean, when is the time going to come that people will do something? So I'm urging you, please, please, with tears in my eyes, to please consider and give us a chance. Consider going out voting for ActionSA. Give us a chance. Let us show you what we can do. Because if you don't do it this time, I'm afraid that we're going to be nowhere in the next 5 years. We've gone down the tube so fast, so fast. We've really been, we've actually created a monster. I want to be honest. I voted for freedom in this country. I know lots of other people had a referendum before 1994, and they also wanted to see change. So we shouldn't just go out there and say, you know, the white people this, the black people this one, this one, that. No, we all want the change. We all went for it. I know of friends, family, colleagues that went out and voted for the ANC. I'm sorry to say, guys, they have disappointed us dismally. They've disappointed us to a point that we actually don't know how to explain the disappointment, the pain. You know, we've been slaves of this dispensation. I want to be honest. We've been slaves. We are taxed left, right, and center. Then there's e-tolls that we've got to look at. And then we sit without electricity and water. We sit without social services when mothers and children out there are really going through a tough time trying to get help. Lots of people don't even have IDs. They are not focused on what needs to be done. You know, they pass the buck, this one, that department, that department. They're sending people in circles. You know, they're going in circles, and it's not fair. I think it's time to go out there and vote. And I'm particularly talking to the women out there.
because women are the ones that are suffering, and when they suffer, the children suffer, and what are we doing today about it? It's time, Basadi. Go out and vote. ActionSA. Kinako. Thank you.
Well, press conferences are always good, they're necessary, but I'd rather be on the ground in a rally speaking to young people with the energy. But we are here today and I'm happy to be here. So I'd just like to say good morning to all members of the media, to all South Africans, but more particularly, I want to say good morning to all the residents of the city of Johannesburg. My name is Lincoln Machaba. I was born in Giyani, in Limpopo, but I'm from Mpumalanga, Bushbuck Ridge. My family moved to Johannesburg in search of better life opportunities. Where else better did we think to move besides city of Johannesburg, also known as the City of Gold, when looking for a better life? I have since had the opportunity to finish school, to get a bursary to study law at the Wits Law School. I graduated in 2016. After that, I had an opportunity to marry my high school sweetheart to bring stability to my life. I then joined active politics and became a councillor serving Dobsonville until I resigned to join ActionSA. I love Johannesburg. This is my city. This is our city. We need to find a way to make it work. Service delivery will be my and ActionSA's #1 priority. Service delivery has a direct impact on the quality of life that our residents will and can live. Service delivery has a direct impact on the welfare of our people and our residents. The slogan of the city of Johannesburg is the world-class African city. But are we really? I believe that we can be, but we need to first ensure that ActionSA is in government. After that, we can focus on clear solutions, which I think will be based on 6 key factors. #1 will be finance. #2 will be economic development. #3 is development planning. #4 is environment and infrastructure. #5 is housing. And the last one will be transport. Please join us and join me on this journey in making our city great. Let us together fix our city, which has so much great potential. I thank you.
Good morning, colleagues, fellow South Africans, members of the media, in particular people of Johannesburg. The name is Herman Mashaba. As all of you know me, I'm the former executive mayor of the city of Johannesburg with unfinished business. I left the city about 3 years into my mayoralty, so I still had 2 years to serve. I left the city with 170 billion rands of infrastructure backlog at the time, which I can imagine it is much worse by today. When I took over the city, 300,000 housing backlog with our people living at the periphery of RDP housing schemes, such a big failure. With the project of the Inner City Rejuvenation Project, where we wanted to reclaim our city from the criminal syndicate so that we can build affordable accommodation for our people. When I left, 154 buildings were already afforded to the private sector to build affordable accommodation for our people. Unfortunately, that project has not begun. And we had already identified 6,000 properties that by now should have been given to the private sector to build affordable accommodation for our people. 35 billion rands of fraud and corruption that needs to really be addressed. This is not no better that we can live unattended. What are the key priorities? The first thing that we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to remove the ANC for us to really be able to move forward. We need to create and ensure that all these people who have really created this mess in our city are removed. We need to create a professional public service. We need to do the lifestyle audit and skills audit of all this cadre deployment in our city, because these are the people responsible, working with these corrupt politicians, responsible for the mess we read. Ladies and gentlemen, we need, as a city, engage Home Affairs to deal with the issue of undocumented foreign nationals. Illegal foreign nationals, must be a priority as a city. We need to get the Home Affairs to really deal with this. We need to expedite
the reclaiming of these hijacked, derelict, abandoned buildings. We need those properties back for our people who are now living at the periphery of our city. We need to declare corruption public enemy number one. Without fighting corruption, ladies and gentlemen, we are doomed to fail. I think in closing, I just really want to really make it clear to you. We are here in Sandton. Just 100 meters away from us, we've got a crime scene, Sandton Station. This piece of land donated to the city of Johannesburg, donated to the Good Talent company. What we have to do, I need to finish that project and ensuring that we reclaim this property, or otherwise people responsible for donating prime piece of land to. Thank you very much, and I hope and trust that people of Johannesburg can give me some opportunity. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. I think there's some important concluding remarks that have to be made here today. You will see that ActionSA is a part when it comes to the leadership. It needs hope. It needs a political party that is going to talk about how we're going to get things fixed and not just telling us what we already know. From my side, thank you very much. Leander, I think let's take some questions.